Hello everybody, welcome to my new video. I'm talking about insecurities today. Let's have the conversation. Why is this important to talk about? How do I struggle with insecurities? How you might struggle with them? And what can we do to get over these insecurities that are getting in our way? The first thing I want to talk about is something called the comparison paradigm. And now the comparison paradigm is essentially a thought cycle. Say you don't make a lot of money, or you aren't as tall as you'd like to be. Maybe you aren't as attractive as you'd like to be. So let's start with this. Say you make 100K a year. That sounds like quite a bit, right? 100K a year. But when you start making 100K a year, you might move into a nicer place, and that nicer place might be in an area where now your neighbors, your friends, the people you talk to, now they make $500,000 a year. You start comparing yourselves to them. But now let's say you make $500,000 a year, or even $1 million a year. So let's imagine you making $1 million a year. That's a lot of money, right? And personally, I don't even know what I would do with that much money, but I can tell you one thing, that any sane person with that much money is obviously gonna buy a nice house, right? I know I would, and the thing was that is when you buy that nice house, you're gonna move into a neighborhood where some of your neighbors and some of the people who live around you are also gonna be living in nicer houses and making even more money than you. So now you're comparing yourself to other people who are making maybe $10 million a year. Now what if you make $10 million a year? What about then? That's also a lot of money, but then you're gonna be around people making $50 million a year. Do you think you'd be secure with yourself making $50 million a year? You think you would, right? Well, unless if you fix the inner issue, you probably still wouldn't. Because when you're making $50 million a year, now you're comparing yourself to something called old money. And old money laughs in the face of $50 million a year. In fact, you will never win this paradigm because there's always someone with more, and you'll always be comparing yourself to somebody who's making more than you, more resources. I remember I was in the Bahamas once, and one year I was there, and I was staying at a luxury resort called Atlantis. There was a watch store at this Atlantis resort called FP Journe, and the store was surrounded by armed security guards. And I went in and I saw this watch in a display case that costs $500,000, okay? Beside that $500,000 watch was another watch with a little note on it, and the note on it said, "Please book an appointment for the price." So you can only imagine how much that watch cost, right? So I asked the lady that was working there, I was saying, who buys these? Like, how do you sell them? And not in a mean or judgmental way. I was genuinely just curious. And she said, well, when you can't bring your yacht to the restaurant, you can wear your FP Journe watch. And you gotta think about that, because I think that people buy those watches because they need other people to see that they have their nice watch to feel comfortable with themselves. You know, they need to have their yacht around to feel secure with themselves. It's almost like when your yacht isn't around, you kind of feel naked. You probably feel this when you have your favorite shirt, or you have a watch you always wear and your wrist feels naked without it. Maybe you just got a new haircut and then you feel a bit better about yourself, you feel more confident. But when you have like your not favorite shirt on, then you don't feel that confident anymore. So as you get more money, you start buying yachts. You feel uncomfortable when you don't have your favorite yacht around. I think 90% of my viewers are men, but if you're a girl watching this, you will be able to relate with this next point I'm about to bring up. So there are many guys who I've met, been friends with, and gone out to clubs with who have a lot of money. And they'll show up to the club with their Mercedes or BMW or whatever luxury car they're driving. And when we go into the club, the guy always tries dragging the girl out of the club to show her the car he's driving. And then, you know, he'll always mention, oh, I have a Mercedes, I have a BMW, and, you know, we can hang out at my place, I can drive you back in my nice car. You know, they start using the car as kind of their tool to try convincing the woman to come back with them from the club. And of course, women, you know, they're naturally socially conditioned so that they can automatically see that he's just being insecure, hiding behind his expensive things. And it usually never works when they're trying to pick up girls with the nice cars. If anything, they just look douchey. Another comparison you can make is say, do you ever wish you were 6 feet tall? Like, gosh, I'm 5'11", just under 6 feet. Like, maybe if I stand on my tippy toes slightly, I could be 6 feet tall. But then there are guys who are 5'8" who look at me and say, well, I just killed to be 5'11", man. Then the guy who's 5'8" has friends who are 5'4", wishing that they could just be 5'8". But then I have friends who are 6 feet or 6'1" and go, dude, a lot of my friends were pretty popular, but a lot of them were like 6'2", 6'3", and I just felt like if I was a little taller at 6'3", I would have fit in better. Then I have friends who are like 6'5", and then they're complaining because now they're too tall, too long, and they feel uncomfortable and awkward when they're trying to talk to girls because now they have to bend down, lean close to the girl so he can get closer, kind of down to her level. But when he does that, now it's kind of like weird, awkward, comes off strange. So now that's kind of uncomfortable. And now that's a con because he's too tall. So, you know, guys at 6 feet are insecure that they aren't 6'2". Guys at 6'2" are insecure that they aren't 6'3". Guys at 6'3" are insecure because they're too tall. Guys at 5'4" are insecure because they're not tall enough. And, you know, how about women? Do you ever wish you were a hot woman? I know I do, because I would just look at my boobs all day. And then hot women are very interesting because on some level, they are the most secure people on this planet, because they know that even if they contribute absolutely no value to society, they themselves are already valuable just by being beautiful. Hot women will be taking care of men regardless of if the women offers anything or not. And that's not an opinion. Majority of women that I know between the ages of 18 and 40, not hating by the way, they have 6-figure salary incomes. They're getting a lot of money. They have houses, nice cars. They're getting all their education paid for, all just by men. And most of the time, the women don't even have to do anything sexual whatsoever. They just exist, post hot selfies online, and men will just like buy them things and give them money. And you know, I'm not hating at all. If anything, I'm envious. I wish that I could do that. On the other hand, as a man, you have probably felt that gnawing sense of insecurity where if you don't provide some kind of value to society, you are fucked. And the beautiful woman does not feel or understand that. Here's where it gets interesting. The beautiful woman is still comparing herself to something. She's comparing herself to other beautiful women. Say if you are a beautiful woman, let's say you're in Budapest, Los Angeles, Tokyo, or somewhere like that. Well, guess what? Beautiful women there are a dime a dozen. You know, if you're making $500,000 in New York, you probably don't feel very secure about yourself because millionaires are a dime a dozen in New York. Every second lawyer in New York is making $500,000 a year. 1 in 5 tech professionals or business entrepreneurs are making more than $500,000 a year. And you have VPs, executives of corporations everywhere. And frankly, $500,000 a year in New York probably doesn't even buy you a nice house. That city is incredibly expensive. So why am I highlighting this? Because when you're in New York, you don't compare yourself to people in Virginia. Of course, in Virginia, you could buy a 10,000 square foot house for $300,000. But in Virginia, you also don't have 1 million people making $1 million. You have people making closer to 100K there. So let's go back and talk about the beautiful woman. Say there's a scale of 1 to 10 of attractiveness. By the way, I hate using the scale. It's kind of immature to use, and I would strongly discourage you from using it. However, for this example, I am gonna use it just to prove a point. Let's say you are a hot woman and you are a 9.6 out of 10 attractiveness. So you're basically a 10. But when you're in LA at a VIP party with other hot women, you start comparing yourself to others and you end up feeling like a 6, even though you're a 9.6 out of 10. If you're a 9.7 out of 10, you wind up feeling like a 7 in a group full of 10s. If you're a 9.8, you feel like an 8. A 9.9, you feel like a 9. And 10, maybe at that point you can actually accept that you're 10 at that point. But even the 10 out of 10 girl now has her insecurities because Now nobody takes her seriously, nobody gets to know her for the real her, nobody really listens to what she has to say or pays attention to what her personality is like. Maybe people assume that she's dumb because she's a hot woman, when in reality, she could actually have like a master's in computer science or something and be like the coolest, like smartest, nerdiest girl ever, but she's a 10 out of 10, so people just start stereotyping her and judging her. So, and I have met women like that who are incredibly beautiful, and they actually start wearing less makeup, less revealing clothes, because they're trying to be less hot. Because if they're too hot, people will be intimidated, or they'll flirt with her nonstop and be really creepy, or people will start like putting her on a pedestal, start hiring her for her job, start hiring her for jobs without her qualifications, just based on her looks. And sometimes she doesn't want that. Sometimes she wants to prove that she's more than just a hot girl, that she's intelligent too. So it's hard for women too, in that sense. There was this commercial back in the day with a sultry, lusty actress, very beautiful woman trying to impress someone, some big guy, Dr. Troy or something. And she said, "Dr. Troy, I was waiting in front of the club the other night in the lineup, and the bouncer pulled me aside and said, 'Hey, 10, come in.' That's right, Dr. Troy, I'm a 10, a perfect 10. And Dr. Troy was a vicious character and says, 'Sweetie, don't fool yourself. You're an 8. And she goes, "Ah!" and in despair. And Dr. Troy takes her over to the mirror with some lipstick and starts pointing out all her little imperfections, just absolutely tore her apart. And she's like crying, asking, "Am I that ugly?" And he says, "Don't worry, we can fix it." And that was a powerful plastic surgery commercial that really portrayed this image where a girl can be an absolute smoke show, but then you can compare her to an Instagram model who has gone through $1,000, who has gone through 1,000K worth of plastic surgery and has professional photographing, taking pictures of her, editing them. And now that 10 out of 10 girl without all that will feel completely ugly and feel the need to go out and spend a ton of money on plastic surgery. You ever meet a incredibly beautiful woman, high cheekbones, big eyes, amazing physique, luscious hair, and you hear them start complaining about little minuscule imperfections? Maybe their nose is slightly not the right shape they want it, or they think their lips are smaller than another girl, so they feel insecure about it, whatever it is. And they'll start complaining, and you start thinking, what the fuck? This girl is the most beautiful girl I've ever seen, and she's sitting here comparing about some flaw that I didn't even notice. But that's something called the reticular activation system in our minds. RAS, say it with me. RAS, reticular activation system. It's a psychological trick of the mind to make you focus on that one little thing. Say you're a guy and you're into bodybuilding. Let's go down the bodybuilding path. Your RAS is focusing on your biceps and the size of your muscles. But say you're a guy who's got some fat and you're focusing on losing weight to get lean. Now your RAS is focused on you being lean. But say you were fat and lost weight, and now you're lean and feeling great. And a lot of people will look at you and say, "Wow, Adam, you're looking great, man. You look lean and healthy." But then bodybuilders will say, "Wow, you're looking really skinny. You need to put on some weight." See the difference between that? It's different depending on different people, depending on what their RAS is focused on. So it literally never stops. You can never win. If you're a guy and you can get out of that paradigm, the life can become very good for you. You end up losing a lot of emotional baggage and negative psychological weight, and you will have a lot of room to breathe and to just focus on yourself. Let's talk about image disorders, self-image disorders. The two that come to my mind are steroids and plastic surgery. You'll see guys that take steroids and they get big fast. Taking steroids for a short bit of time might actually not even be that bad for you. Actually, if you don't drink alcohol, stay away from drugs, completely cut out processed foods, just eat healthy and inject Trinoplex and test 400 muscular injections, it might really not even be that bad for you. I'm not promoting the idea, and I'm not advertising this at all. Don't do steroids just because I said that. I'm just trying to prove a point that it isn't always bad. So anyways, say you've been doing it for a few months and you are already getting noticeably bigger. People start noticing. You'll have guys giving you props, for getting big. You'll have hot women hitting on you because you start looking better, you start getting bigger, and now your brain unconsciously is being programmed to believe that I get acceptance from being a big dude. I get rewarded for doing steroids. And that's the dangerous part, because there are a few forces out there that are more powerful than something that feeds your social image or social status. And that is because in psychology and evolutionary biology, it's ingrained into our DNA that he who has the highest social status gets to reproduce with the best females, gets to lead tribes, gets to influence others, gets resources and protection, and ultimately has the best life. But with steroids, it's a false image because he didn't work that hard to get that big. In fact, many guys who have been on steroids for many years are so big that you can't even get that big naturally. So now, of course, now people know that you're on steroids, and I'm sure deep down, you know that you can never be that big without steroids, which leads to another insecurity, which is a pain body attack. And now when an insecurity rises, you've been dealing with your insecurity by taking steroids, well, now you're just gonna take more steroids to deal with the pain of your insecurity, and by doing that, now that is very unhealthy. You might have a similar feeling where, you know, you're getting a new haircut, or you might be getting a new shirt, you might be getting your new yacht. You just feel like a god walking around with that new shirt, strutting around like, wow, I'm so cute. Obviously, that's not unhealthy the way that steroids are. That's a lot better way to do it. I would encourage you to rather go out and get a haircut, get a new t-shirt, just work out normally. Just, you know, I would rather get you to buy a yacht or a nice watch than to do steroids. But anyways, I'm not here to lecture you. You do what you want to do. The only time that it gets unhealthy is when it becomes a problem in your life. You know, when it threatens your health or your financial state or your friends. Or, you know, now imagine you have just meditated 15 minutes in a forest. Or imagine you worked out for 30 minutes. Or imagine you just had sex with a really hot person and it was really satisfying. How often are you in those moments and think, you know, I could really buy a new watch right now? You probably never said that before in those moments. These are the most peaceful mindsets you can be in, and the least consumer mindsets. You are not a good consumer after you just meditated. You're not a good consumer after you just worked out. You're not a consumer after you just had sex with a hot lady or man or whatever gender that you're into. You know, if you look into the mirror after a great meditation session or workout or whatever it is, you'll find that you really like the way that you look. You don't feel like getting a new haircut. You don't feel like buying a new t-shirt. You don't need to validate yourself with any of those things in that moment. It's like your face is relaxed. You have this calm, peaceful look in your eyes that just makes you sexy. Meanwhile, when you're in your normal state, you're all tensed. You feel pissed and stressed about shit, insecure. You just look in the mirror and see yourself as a completely different person from when you are relaxed. How you look is so objective. The hottest person can feel ugly. The ugliest person can feel hot. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't go to the gym. Doesn't mean you shouldn't dress well. Please keep getting haircuts and have a shower, wear deodorant, brush your teeth. I'm not saying stop doing that. But just so you know, it's important to manage and maintain your self-image and become secure with who you are. Take a look at Kanye West. He has a huge ego. He's been made fun of about it, and he's pretty pissed about it. It's been a few years, but you've probably seen South Park made an episode about Kanye West being a gay fish. The point of the episode was that the boys of South Park made up this seemingly innocent joke, and when the joke was said to Kanye, he didn't understand the joke, and he just got offended because he just can't relax and let go of his ego. The joke was, hey, do you like fish sticks? And Kanye would say, yeah, and the punchline would say, well, then you're a gay fish. Kanye got mad because he couldn't take the joke, complained to South Park, the same way that Tom Cruise and Kim Kardashian did when South Park couldn't make any episodes about him anymore. Later on, South Park did make episodes about him, even though he said they couldn't, but they called him Aquaman in those episodes. So they never said Kanye, but they still had the same Kanye character, just named Aquaman as a gay fish. But you know, Kanye couldn't do anything about that one, and he still got mad. But what's the problem here? Kanye came from an environment where nobody believed in him. He had to completely and utterly believe in himself. But in order to do that, he cultivated this massive ego. Essentially, you could say that the degree to which you're wounded is the degree to which this scar tissue kind of forms around the wound. It's almost like when you have an injury in your shoulder and you have some weird knots form in the back to compensate for the joint. Ego can be the same thing, but psychological ego can also be a good thing in that sense. It can motivate you, make you feel more confident to do things that you wouldn't normally do. But it's this wishy-washy because ultimately someone who has a big ego isn't comfortable with themselves and they have to hide shit. They hide it behind their ego. That's where you see the guy with the Gucci sweater with minus $300 in his bank account. Earlier we talked about the guy with the nice car, like an expensive Porsche, and he's trying to flex to women, and the women actually get turned off by the nice car because she can tell that he has a need to have the car to cover up some insecurity. You know, maybe he has a tiny penis, or maybe he has other issues going on, or maybe he's actually really poor and broke, but he's in debt for the nice car to look rich. By the way, if you have a tiny penis, you fucking rock that shit, man, because that's a whole nother comparison paradigm. You think you wish you had an 8 to 10 inch dick, when in reality, when you have a 10 inch dick, you can't fuck girls with it because it hurts them. And they can't put it in their mouth, they can't deep throat you, you know, I'll just go, they will never have anal with you, you know, so it's, if anything, a small penis is actually better than a big one. You gotta own that shit, you gotta rock that tiny penis, okay? So, okay, I have a flaw that I will share with you. As many of you know, I work in IT, and I'm getting pretty good. I have a bit of a fan base, I've got certifications, I'm a system administrator, got a lot of connections. I ain't no spring chicken out here, okay? But sometimes I talk to someone who doesn't know that, and maybe they're rude to me, dismiss me, or say some snarky comment implying that I'm not as skillful, or somehow I'm a try-hard or something. And there's been times when I call these people out and give them a lecture and go, who do you think you're talking to? Like, who do you think I am talking to me like that? And so what happened was, in the corporate world, I got amazing feedback all the time. And when I finally got out and met people outside that bubble, I got negative feedback, and it messed with my head. I felt the need to reinforce that I'm superior or some narcissistic bullshit. But what I realized is I need to stop doing that because I actually want the negative feedback. If I'm not getting feedback that's negative, I'm doing it wrong. You want your friends to roast you. If you can't take negativity, if you can't take getting roasted and made fun of, then you're exactly the same as Kanye West. And you don't want to be a gay fish, right? I mean, nothing wrong with being gay as a fish, but you get my point. So you have to stop taking yourself so seriously. You have to learn how to laugh at yourself the way that others laugh at you. You have to be able to laugh at your deepest, darkest insecurities the way that other people would laugh about them. Now, there's also a paradox with getting rid of insecurities. When you get rid of insecurities, that's a form of bettering yourself or self-development. And contrary to what you're trying to do, oftentimes trying to get rid of your insecurities or trying to make yourself better actually makes you even more insecure and discouraged, because especially when you first start, it can feel extremely daunting. It's like looking up at a massive 1,000 foot ladder, like this big hill I'm walking up, and saying like, wow, I'm only taking the first step. And back comes that comparison paradigm of, well, if only I would have started 5 years ago, I might already be halfway up that ladder. So what's the point of doing it now? That's a very dangerous thought, and you should avoid it at all costs. Don't let yourself stop. Don't let yourself stop you just because you thought you could have already done, just because you thought you have already been doing it a while ago. It's never too late. You can start climbing the ladder today. Start climbing the ladder today. The very same frame of accepting yourself and improving yourself can actually make you feel more depressed, insecure, and discouraged. So how do you fight this? What's the solution? Well, I come from a basic frame where I believe I am already awesome. I am already successful. I am still alive. I have many friends and family who I love very dearly, who have passed away to heaven. Some are still here, but I am still here. I still have time on this earth. I am thankful for what I already have, and I am thankful for my opportunities to grow. I am on my journey to becoming more successful and more awesome, even though I'm already both of those things now. I am going to enjoy the process right now. I'm going to enjoy every step of climbing that 1,000-foot ladder, because the truth is, what you'll notice is when you climb to the top of that ladder, there is always another ladder waiting for you at the top. There is no destination, ever. There is no end. There is no end goal. The only thing that exists is the process of your current goals right now, and you will always be in that exact state, just at different phases in different parts of the ladder. When I was 16 years old, I remember trying to apply for a job. Nobody would hire me. I walked around downtown handing out resumes to every restaurant or retail store I could. I was a newspaper boy. I had a really hard time finding a job. I finally landed a job at Walmart making $10 an hour at the time. $10 an hour at Walmart. And I remember feeling like an absolute boss. Success. As a man, I thought, I'm making $10 an hour. That's like $1,200 a month. Working 30 hours a week. I felt rich. And then I got a job at a casino at 19 making $10 an hour. But my tips on top of that were another $10 an hour. So, that's about 20 bucks an hour. And I was a poker dealer. I felt incredibly successful just as a poker dealer at 19. I thought, wow, this is the job of my life. I'm gonna work here for the rest of my life. All I have to do is play games, party with people, and make tips money, and life is a breeze. But anyways, fast forward now, I'm close to about $40 an hour, which, by the way, 26 years old right now. I remember when I was 16, never met people who made $40 an hour. I never even imagined the possibility of making 40. I think this one time I met a guy who made $30 an hour, and he owned a house, had a BMW, went on vacation. Funny enough, 10 years later, when I'm making quite a bit more than $30 an hour, because of the insane inflation over the past 10 years, I can't afford a BMW and a house off my salary. So obviously, that money was worth a lot more back then than it is now. But anyways, the point is, I still have massive goals. I still feel like I'm at the bottom of another 1,000-foot tall ladder. Even though I've made such a drastic difference in my life, I feel like I'm still at the bottom of another ladder. So this is just life. And I'm in love with it. And I'm in love with the process, except that the ladder never stops, except that you will never reach the top of your goals, because there's no goal, there's no target, there's only the now. In the present moment today, there's only the golden era of right this second. This is the moment in which everything happens right now as you're watching me, as you're listening to me. And this is the moment in which you can decide to change something. What are you going to change? Mainstream marketing? Mainstream media? The government is purposely focusing on making you feel insecure. Why? Is it because they're evil? Maybe, I don't know. But it's actually very marketable. See, a secure man does not spend $500,000 on a watch. A secure man does not blow all his money and go into debt for a nice car, a big TV, a flashy hoodie, or whatever else. A secure woman does not spend money on plastic surgery. Insecurities is a $1 trillion industry. Companies make incredible amounts of money off of people's insecurities. Instagram models make incredible amounts of money off people being insecure. There's thousands of Instagram women who claim they don't Photoshop when they absolutely do. And when they say they don't, all they're doing is making women feel more insecure about themselves. And in return, the model gets paid money because the insecure girls end up buying what their Instagram model is wearing. And guess what? When you buy anything, what you do pay is taxes. That money goes to the government. So if you think that the government isn't subliminally promoting plastic surgery, expensive clothes, cars, trying to make everyone look like a gangster or a badass hoe, of course the government is promoting all this. Cardi B's song Wet Ass Pussy isn't top hit because it's a good song. It's a top hit because it makes the government a lot of money. It makes the music industry money. It makes the fashion industries money. It makes the plastic surgeons money. So next time you go outside, I want you to start paying attention. I don't want you. Do what you want to do. I recommend that you stop paying attention to what people think about you. Instead, start paying attention to how many people actually noticed you around. Start looking at people. If they make eye contact with you, just smile for a moment and look away. You know, most of the time that you will notice that people are on their phone, or they're zoned out, or they're simply too afraid to even look at anyone because they themselves are scared that someone is going to judge them for looking at someone. You will start to notice like everyone is so focused on themselves. Everyone is so focused on not trying to be seen by anyone, trying to not look at anyone, when in reality, nobody even fucking notices anymore in public areas. They know there are people around, but they don't know who, they don't know what they look like or what they're thinking. So I'm gonna end this video with the point of this, with the whole point. What's the whole point of this video? Like, why am I rambling on? You are already awesome. You're on a journey to becoming even more awesome. You are already greatness. You already have greatness within you. But you're just on the journey to become even more great. Do some light exercise or go work out for a bit. Go for a little walk even. Do a little bit of yoga or cardio. Meditate for 5 minutes a day. And your life will be so amazing. You'll have powerful, positive energy. Just love life. People will feel that energy coming off you. People will feel that you're relaxed. And naturally, they will be drawn to you. You'll be out in public and notice everyone is so caught up with themselves. Everyone is so insecure. Someone might even look at you. You might smile at them and they'll see how calm you are. And maybe they might even remember you and later think, I wonder who that guy was. Remember that guy who smiled at me at the mall? I wonder who he is. He looked pretty calm and happy. You know, you can start working on it. It won't happen overnight. It's a journey, but you can even feel it right now. You're looking at me into my eyes and you're just feeling more relaxed with me, feeling more secure this very second, taking a deep breath in, deep breath out, letting all those toxic feelings out, deep breath in. While you breathe in, start thinking about the things you are insecure about. And as you breathe out, imagine you are just breathing out those insecurities. Get them out of your body. Use the power and energy of the air around you to clear out your body of those negative, toxic beliefs. Deep breath one more time. Let go of all that bullshit. Self-judgment. Realizing that comparing yourself will never work. It'll never work. You just have to love life and have a good time. And we can do it together. You can reach out to me anytime. We can always have a little phone call or a chat. Just remember to love yourself. Just keep progressing, keep moving forward. Always be thankful of what you currently have. Thank you all for watching. Hope you have a great day. I'm out of breath.